Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to this live hacking session about Thunderbird. I haven't done this in quite a while, and I apologize in advance because it's the end of the day right now, and I'm very tired. I've been coding all day, and I don't know what's gonna happen now. I will try to do something nice, something interesting, but as usual, thank you so much everyone for joining. It's a bit of an odd time sometimes. Usually I do this in the morning. I used to do this in the morning my time, so I was able to catch also the European audience or other people around the world at specific times, but I guess job and work-life balance and all the other things are quite demanding sometimes, so this is the time I'm gonna do that. ML Dawn, you look fresh to me. Do I? Great. Probably is because of the too much coffee that I've been drinking, which is not good for me because it makes me agitated. But yes, what are we doing today? We are, sorry, I'm getting notifications from Google that my bitrate is lower than usual, but whatever, it doesn't matter. What we're gonna be doing today, I'm gonna show you a bunch of things that I've been working on Thunderbird, a bunch of super new cool things that just landed that I haven't worked on but other people worked on, and then we're gonna code something live together. I'm working on the new message header. I'm creating some very cool custom elements to implement some customizations and things like that. So yeah, let's jump right into it, I guess. How many of you currently use Thunderbird? And don't say no, none, because that would be very upsetting. Okay, my dog just put his head underneath my chair, as usual, super comfortable position, but let's switch these to a more interesting view right here. So we are gonna compile Thunderbird super quickly, and I'm gonna show you a couple of new things. If you're using Thunderbird, you're probably on version 91 unless you're on beta or daily release. If you're brave enough to use daily, it's pretty stable, I guess, and there are a lot of good new stuff that you can start testing right away. So first of all, when you launch Thunderbird, I have a fake account here, so it's pretty bare bone. Usually I have many more folders. The first thing that you will notice, we have a wonderful spaces toolbar here, which collects all the tabs, opening, buttons, and by default it doesn't look great because it doesn't match. I mean, it matches your operating system style. We did it on purpose, so the background matches the top title bar or the toolbar, whatever you use it. The primary color automatically grabs the primary color of your operating system, of your accent color. In my case, I have this type of accent color, so it grabs it automatically and uses as a selection color. But of course, we know that these default layout or color scheme, it's not perfectly it doesn't perfectly fit all the needs of all the users, different operating systems, especially like if you're Ubuntu, for example, that your primary color is orange, maybe this doesn't really work very well. If you're on Mac OS, you want something bolder. If you're on Windows, you want something flatter. So we implemented the ability to customize the spaces toolbar, and you can change whatever you want, everything you want. So I'm gonna change something like very extreme. Like for example, the background color is gonna be a dark, the buttons are gonna be white. The background, I want something very bright, and the selected button color is gonna be white as well. Oh, like I love this. Okay, so this is already looking great. But of course, you can change it however you want. Like if you want something like brighter or create a custom color or define whatever you want, you can absolutely do it. But for me, this is the perfect type of colorations. I love the gradient, I love everything. This is something that I'm happy about. Oh, Draman, hello. Long time no chat. How you doing? I'm gonna try to do these live streamings more often, and hopefully I will keep my promises this time. ML Donza never hacked anything. I think this session is way over mad. Well, hacking is a strong word because we're not really hacking. We're coding. I'm gonna show you the source code and we're gonna code something together. So yeah, it's just so hacking is not really accurate as a term, but it sounds cool for the titles of this video. Anyway, what I'm gonna be working on today is the message header, because the message header needs a lot of love, needs a lot of updates, needs a lot of much needed refresh. The code is a mess, the design of the message header is not great, and I'm gonna show you why. So first of all, I'm gonna step out from my current branch here, and I'm gonna compile Thunderbird. And to give you a preview, yeah, I don't know, like Draman, probably you were part of that design session that we did a while ago, but this is what I did. This is what I designed during a design session, like a live design session for Thunderbird. We designed the new message header, starting from the old message header, how all the information are printed, how it handles multiple addresses, how it just controls and shapes the data and makes the data readable. And we found a lot of shortcomings of how it's not fully responsive, how when you have many recipients, it just grows too like large and is not the best design ever. It's not the best layout implementation. So we ended up with something like this, and this is the objective that I'm trying to achieve. But at the same time, I'm trying to give more flexibility, because some users, if you finish building, some users actually like the way the message header looks right now. So let me show you, which I completely disagree, but whatever. Different users, different needs. So currently the message header looks like this. We have multiple we're gonna let you use a stream bit rate of 4500. Oh, so settings. So Google is telling me that my stream rate is too low and I need to use 4500, but how do I change bitrate 4500? Can I change it now without crashing? Apply. Okay. If it changes everything. Okay. Am I still here? Did I crash? I don't know. I changed the bitrate to 4500 kilobits instead of 2500. But it's all right. Let's continue this thing. If nothing comes, if this doesn't work, hopefully there's gonna be a VOD that other people can check. Anyway, this is the design, this is the message header the way it looks right now, and some people like it because it's very minimal, very streamlined, it repeats a lot of things, and there are the buttons and that's it. The problem with this, it doesn't really work well in responsives, like especially when you have like long recipients. You see like recipients don't stack properly, they don't wrap around, and also there's no customization options here. We lost the customization that Thunderbird had before, where you were able to move the buttons around, hide or show the icons of those buttons, or remove the text and only show icons, and like small things like that. Also, the message header comes with like many years of rewriting and fixing and patching and band-aiding, and it's just a mess in this type of a source code. The code of the HTML structure is just super messy. The code of the JavaScript that handles this is just even worse than the HTML. So, and there are small things that like the star is not aligned to the bottom, like if you have the subject line is not really aligned. It's a bunch of different things. So I started working on it, took a lot of time, so we're starting to see a little bit of the light at the end of the tunnel. Probably in the next week or two, I'm gonna finish this, hopefully. But the first thing that I improved is a customization option. You can open a customized panel, and there are very, very simple things that you can do. First, you can increase the subject line to have a larger subject, and then you can decide what style of icons you want to have. Buttons, text, only icons, or icons plus text, or whatever. Let's put just icons, and we can have these type of things. So this is the first step that I did in order to achieve this design here. The first step is larger subject line that you can toggle on and off, and then making the buttons just icon style. And this is okay. Then the next step was to update all these recipients fields which are custom elements based on Zool to be custom elements based on regular HTML and behave more like a regular text. And we absolutely need it. And I'm halfway through that. I'm going to show you now what I did. So if I open my terminal here and I update to the message header, gonna compile super quickly. Yeah, Drummond, you remember you were in that design session. Thank you for following on Twitter, by the way. It's great. All right, so if we launch now with the patch that I'm working on right now applied, and I select a message, whatever message, you can see it's slightly different. So first of all, we have a new icon, which is better. Before we were using the star icon to say that a recipient is added or not added to the address book, but we also use the star icon to star the icon to mark the message as favorite. So using the star both as favorite and recipients in address book is not a good paradigm. It's just very confusing. So we implemented this new little icon that is just a little man, and you can click on it and it adds it and automatically uses the display name if you have it. And if you click here, it shows you the edit contact with the new just information. You can delete your contact from the address book, and if you click here we have a drop down. But whatever, the first thing that I did was converting this into regular HTML. So now look at that, they stack, they wrap around like regular HTML elements, and it's glorious, and already it works way better than before. So the other thing that I need to do here is for every recipient fields like to CC, BCC, right now we constantly repeat this thing. So in the customization options here, I want to add another toggle that says don't show the labels for each row, because the from recipient address, it's always there. It's always the from. So if you see this layout, you absolutely immediately understand that this message was sent to me by Alessandro. I don't need to have a little label that says, this message is from Alessandro. I don't need it. The subject, if it's larger, I know that this is the subject. I don't need a little label that tells me this is the subject, right? So the thing, before being able to remove all those labels, the only thing that you cannot guess automatically is the recipients. Like, is these sent to me and other people? Was sent to other people CC'd? Is there a reply to something like that? So the thing that we need to code is if the user hides the label, the important labels, like the to, CC, BCC, and fields BCC, no, you don't see the BCC, but to, CC, reply to, and other headers like email headers, they should be displayed in line, and we can save a bunch of like space here, and we can have more room for activities and things like that. Yeah. Also, another thing that I've been improving is if, for example, I type an email, type something, for example, let's say something to Alex at TB, no, let's put at invalid.foo, and then test at test.com, and asd at asd.asd, whatever. And then we save this message in the drafts and we open it up. You see now all these are in line, and when you resize, they stack properly one after another because they're considered like their own clickable buttons. But you see the comma is generated with one line of CSS. Before, it was very complicated. We were calculating how many addresses we had there and then merging that array and then adding a comma in JavaScript. It was just a mess. Now we can do with CSS, if two addresses are one after another, just add a comma in CSS. That's it. It's always correctly positioned. It's just very, very easy. But let's take a look at the code, shall we? Oh, hello, Danny. Welcome, welcome. Oh, Draman has to join a morning meeting now. I'll catch this video later and hopefully catch you in your next live stream. Yes, absolutely. I will do more of these live streamings. Thank you so much for joining and enjoy your morning meeting. Wow. Good luck, man. See ya. Okay, let's code something. So first of all, we got our stuff inside our headers field. I created custom element header field with a bunch of custom elements. If you don't know anything a custom element, let me know, because I'm going to do some tutorials about custom elements, because custom elements in HTML are awesome. Basically, a custom element is a class that extends or can even not extend anything, but extends, well, it should extend anything, at least an HTML element, but extends a default HTML element, and you can create a new markup for it, and you can let it do whatever you want. So it's fantastic. This is a very simple explanation, but it's very, very, very easy. And then here in the message header HTML, I created the first expanded to row. Expanded from, okay, I got my custom element here that you can see is a div with an ID, and then is multi-recipient row, and the multi-recipient row unique is identifier is the custom element defined multi-recipient row, which is this class, and this class extends the div. So pretty straightforward. It's pretty awesome. One thing that we need to do also, we need to clean up a lot the message header. The message header view is the file. Oh, Micah. Okay, hello. So Danny and Micah are here, which Micah is a designer at Thunderbird. Danny is a community member at Thunderbird. It's basically a contributor, add-ons developer. And so I guess like probably people that are watching these live streaming are colleagues or people that I that work directly with. So yeah, hopefully it's gonna be fun for you knowing all these things that you already know. But anyway, the message header view.js is the file that handles everything that it happens in our message header. The problem of this file is that it's all procedural, and I'm gonna just show you a little bit of the mess here. We have a bunch of classes, procedural method, some objects, and this file goes on at infinitum basically, and we have around 39,000, like 3,900 lines of code to achieve something that can be done in way less, and it's just super messy. And we have some very weird idiosyncrasies. For example, usually like the overall golden rule of a custom element is that custom elements should be self-contained. What happens when you interact in a custom element, everything should happen inside the custom element. So methods, whenever you define something, for example, a button on a click, or if you observe a string change, observe something else that needs to change, all the outcome of these things, methods that you call, should happen inside the custom element itself. If your custom element starts interacting with the document or window, or you call a method that it's outside, it's starting to get iffy. It means that your custom element is kind of leaking outside itself, and it doesn't really make sense to have a custom element at the point. So there's a major issue here in the message header where we add, we observe changes to the address book. So whenever an address is added to the address book, our message header listens to it, loops through all the recipients that we're currently showing, and updates the UI. And I can show you what it does basically. So if I launch Thunderbird the way it is right now with this thingy, if I go into this email, for example, this one is not in my address book because the little icon is not blue. I know if I access my personal address book, it's completely empty. So if I click this to add it to the address book and says in the tooltip, save this address into the address book, automatically look what happens. It changes. It removes the email address and it only shows the name. And if I click on edit contact, it shows me how it was saved in the address. But the fact that these address change and the icon now is highlighted blue that indicates it's inside the address book, that happened because the observer was just listening for changes. We're not manually triggering, hey, update this because I just added in the address book. The observer is listening to this because it could happen that you're inside your address book and you add, or you create a new contact, manually create a new contact that it's currently visualized here. This header should reload automatically in the background if that contact is suddenly added, which is super cool. It absolutely needs to happen. The problem that we have in our current code is that thing is very complicated. I'm gonna try to show you what we do, but it's terrible. So we have this address book listener, just a bunch of strings that we're listening from, like the observer's topics. We listen for all those topics, and whenever something changed, for example, an item is added, we call a method on address book data changed. This method on address book data change calls update extra address processing, which goes through again all the cases, item added, item deleted, item removed, and then calls the update email node details, which calls the method in the custom element, which consequentially calls the method outside the custom element. It's just a fucking mess. And you can see it here. It's also here. This method is only called in another file by, this is the name of the custom element, the mods mail multi-email header field. So this method, it's called by the custom element, which in turn only invoke this method again in this file. We should avoid moving between files when this could all be handled by the elements class itself. So this was a major problem. This was done like 10 years ago or something. And this is a major problem when you have your custom element calling a method outside that calls back to a method inside that calls back to a method outside. It's just horrible. So what I did inside the custom element, I created a bunch of notification topics that we need to observe and create an observer inside the custom element. And when something happens, I call built-in methods, contact added, contact removed, and all these kind of things too. So the custom element itself is listening for changes. When those are detected, we loop through the recipients that we have inside this custom element, and if we have any match, we update accordingly if an item is removed or an item is added, whatever. Sounds more complicated than it is, but it's way better than jumping hoops between methods. So by doing so, I can delete a huge chunk of code that I have here, but I'm gonna do it later. Now, what I have to do, I have to fix a bunch of things that we have in our drop down. This is what I was doing, because here, if you select an address and you click edit contact, this works perfect. If you click compose to, it doesn't work, and you can see here that Chrome, we have an error on message header JS. line 1753 can access property has attribute address node is null. So let's go there. Message header 1753. Message header 1753. Send mail to node. This is the method that we're using. If we search for this method, it's used in the mail pop-up, main pop-up set, which is the primary pop-up set. And then we use in the messenger menu item. This is the menu pop-up. And here. This parent node, trigger node, event, messenger, in the menu pop and use group pop-up. We need to change all of this, but this is what we're interested in. We are in the menu pop-up email address pop-up, and we're calling this method. This send to email. It calls this parent node, trigger node. This parent node, trigger node is old Zool coding. So it's not good. And it's also passing the event. For whatever reason, we're passing the event. I don't know why we're passing the event. The event object when using trigger. Are we using the event? If an event is passed, check if shift key was press for composition in non-default format. Oh my God, is this a feature? So if you click with the shift, you compose in plain text or HTML, depending on your... Oh my God, this is the extremely discoverable. I had no idea that this feature existed. God, Danny, were you aware of this feature? Oh, Danny asked a question. Shouldn't you be able to use my custom element? Yes, you can write it that way. Depends on how you write the custom element. For example, this, where is it? No, if you don't use an extends, so if you're not extending, if you write something like that, class my custom element extends HTML element. If you do this, then you can custom element define my custom element without extending any default HTML element, because we're extending the default root. It's just a regular HTML element. We're not extending a div, a li, whatever thing. If you do this, then you can write my custom element. Or you can self-close it, of course, because it's a custom element. But if you're extending an existing element, you need to specify it as that element that you're extending. In our case, in my case, I'm extending the div here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Give me up, give me up, give me up. I'm extending the div, so I need to first open it as a div and then saying this is a custom element that I'm defining. Extending an existing HTML element allows you to inherit the element properties. So in this case, I wanted a div because that's a row div. I don't want it to have the default accessibility of the div, the default markup of the div, the default the default rendering of the div without me handling that stuff. So I extended the div. Same case for the header recipient. The header recipient is a list element inside an order list. So I needed to extend the list element, and you can do it that way. It's not a bummer. It's standard. It's like, it's done this way. It makes sense. I guess it helps you in the HTML. It helps you to better identify which element is extended from an existing markup, and it's easier for accessibility to understand, like, okay, I know this is a div and it's a custom element, so this custom element will have all the default div accessibility tree and accessibility options and attributes without the developer needing to redefine all of these. And same things for the list or whatever other existing custom element you're extending. It takes time to get used to custom elements, but they're very powerful. But of course, with great power comes great responsibility, because customers can very quickly get out of hand and destroy your performance. So that's why this leaking outside, you shouldn't try to interact with the custom elements, should be like self-contained and not step outside their boundaries. But anyway, we need to fix this mess here. This send email to... Oh god, we're passing the event. So what I've been doing here, I have an object I created, the message header. And this is something that I like to do because it keeps things more organized. I like to create object literals. Our object literal is an object that doesn't need initialization. It's just an object that contains a bunch of methods. So you can use the this pseudo class to reference to the object. Instead of using a bunch of procedural classes, just function, you create an object literal and all the methods are inside the object literal. The object literal is good if you don't need to extend it or initialize it or clone it or copy it. If you find yourself that you need to create a new, like you need to duplicate an object literal multiple, that should be a class. It shouldn't be an object literal. But an object literal is literally an object with methods inside. That's it. So I created this message header. I have add contact. I'm passing the element and stuff like that. So I'm gonna create something. Let's call these G message header. G message header. Oopsie. G message header. Send. Oh, compose. Message. I like this generic name that are like, it's not send mail to node. As if it just compose message, or could be also even called compose. Compose message is a little bit more explicit. And here we're gonna pass first the event, always pass the event, and then we're gonna pass these, which is the menu pop-up, because whenever I'm opening the menu pop-up, I'm assigning to the menu pop-up a custom attribute that holds the header field. And it's super helpful because I can reference whatever email address or contact, whatever inside the header field. So I'm gonna use the compose, show contact, show edit contact, boom, compose. Come out. This, not this, but this is gonna be the element. And we can say what happens here. What is the send to? Send to mail node. Okay, if its address book has attribute news group. Wow, this is so complicated. Fields. Oh my god, this is messy. Okay, let's copy all of these and see what the hell is going on. All right, let's paste it here and let's fix it. So first of all, the address node has attribute news group. Oh, this is checking whatever email address. I don't need this. So address node get attribute full address. I have this header field. Let field. Actually, this is recipient. It's equal to the element parent node header field. So this address node, we don't need to worry about it. And in the recipient, we can access fields news groups. What the hell is that? Oh god. As attribute full address. Oof. We have a getter here for the full address, right? Yeah, get full address. We can do something better if recipient full address. Address as mail server, recipient full address. Addresses, if addresses, fields to, okay. So why are we adding a news group? if we're giving for granted that this as a news group, all right, recipient news group is news group. Why it feels I hate this inconsistency. Why it feels news groups, but we're adding the recipient news group. So messy. God, we can avoid to do this. If address lens field messages make from display address. Can we get the email address? Do we need to pass make my matter? Make from email address. What does it do this? Because we might not have. Ugh, this is messy. God. Okay, so our recipient should have a news group field. So let's say get news group. Let's build a getter. Return empty for now. And let's write a comment here. This is so stupid. Oh god. To do fetch the news group if it has one. If it is one. God. Fields, parameters type, new. Okay, so we can create the parameters later. Always create the fields. Always create the variable when you use that variable. Don't create the variable at the top of the file if you're gonna use it later. It gets very confusing to read the code. So we're gonna create the parameters, which is an extension. It's an instance of the NSI compose parameters. All these composition window this is C++. All these things, we're gonna drop them and just do regular JavaScript. But we're gonna compose a new message if oh god. So first of all, it's event shift, and we can say if we have an event and the shift key is pressed, type the opposite, use the opposite format, or use the default format. If event is passed, event is always passed, but if the shift key was pressed for composition, it was pressed, alternate, set the opposite composition format. How is this discoverable? I have no idea how users are supposed to learn that if you click here and you press hold shift while you click on this, it's gonna compose in the opposite settings that you have. How is this any way discoverable whatsoever? We Thunderbird is riddled with these obscure options and features that we support and we don't even know why. Whatever. If G folder display folder identities, grab it from that. Compose fields, it's equal to fields. Open compose window with the parameters. This is so messy, God. Okay. This should work now. Compose message. Let's see if it works. Wow. You know, did you see what I'm dealing with? This code is yuck. So yuck. Okay. Grab this. No, this is my email. We're gonna use the test email because I don't want to do anything messy. So if I want to compose to my Gmail, compose message, it opens up and this is regular HTML. Okay, if I do this and hold shift, compose message to, oh, this is plain text. Great, works. Nice. It works. All right. A couple of questions. Danny asks, are you and you depends on JS, so depending on your use case, it can be a limitation. Depending on your use case can be a limitation. What does it mean? Remember regarding custom elements? I don't know. David writes, maybe toggle composition format. Yeah, but how would you expose it to the user? How would you, like, your, for the comment text? Oh yeah, toggle. Oh, thank you. Yeah, for the comment text. If the shake is refresh, toggle the composition format. Toggle the composition format. HTML versus plain text. Actually, let me put it, let me leave it on the second. Yeah, toggle composition format. Yeah, makes sense. Thank you. Thanks for the suggestion, David. Who are you, David Wank? I've never seen you in my live streaming. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your comments. Where are you connecting? Where are you watching from? What time is it? Who are you? Just, I'm curious when people just watch me. Okay, we need to clean up a little bit this code. So one of the most important things when you write code that is going to be used and maintained by other millions of people is writing JS docs. So parameter, this is the DOM event or just event. The click DOM event. This is the element, which is the, this is not a Zool element, the press menu item. No, yes, this is the press menu item. The menu pop-up, this is not a press menu item. Yeah, no, it's the press menu item. Yeah, okay. Because we go to the parent node. Yes, it's the press menu item. And here a good description. Trigger a new message compose window. Yeah, nice. Hey, you're from London. What time is it? Isn't it late? Aren't you supposed to be asleep now? What are you doing up so late? Yeah, I'm not sure either how to present that in for the user. I don't know. This is a pretty silly. It's a pretty silly option. Oh yeah. Okay. I don't even understand this feels newsgroup thing. Why are we doing this? Why are we giving for granted that this is a newsgroup? So we're giving for granted this is a newsgroup. So mail address, mail newsgroup. One thing that we can do, we can take a look at the old custom elements that were, yeah, this one. Mods mail newsgroup. Set header area label newsgroup? What? Get attribute newsgroup? So we're setting the attribute newsgroup basically somewhere. Why we're doing this? Set attribute newsgroup. Oh, there you go. For newsgroups in, oh my God. What's this? Okay, so this is the newsgroup header field. So this is the row that shows you the newsgroups. So for every newsgroup that it was assigned to this field, assign the attribute newsgroup. Wow. Wow, okay, I will need to deal with this. And we are defining a whole custom element for just this? Oh god, it's ridiculous. Yeah. This is code, man. This code. Anyway, we fix one thing. Let's go to the next one. I'm gonna deal with news groups later. So the other thing is copy email address, and also this one should give us an error. Yes, can access as attribute address is null, of course, in line 1801. So let's go here in the message header. 1801 copy email address. Also, these all convoluted things is the clipboard. Wow. Okay, let's create another method here. Copy email address in the main menu pop-up. Copy email address. Boom. This is bigger now. News group. Still with these news group things. I don't need these news group stuff. Include name. What? Copy name and email address. Oh, so we have two methods. Copy name and email address, copy email address. And we use the same method to... Okay, I see. Include name. God. Okay. What is this? Why is this method called copy email news address? Copy address. Wow. Wow, folks. This code can be the end of me. Okay, we can do something fairly straightforward here. We got the element and then the element header field part. So we can do this once again. Let's delete all this garbage and say let recipient equal to, and we paste this to the element header field that we know is there. Recipient is gonna get, let's address element with name, which default to false. So address, it's equal to with name. Again with this news group. Oh, wow. Wow, this is a fake three-way. Oof. Okay, if we got a name is... First of all, we initialize the clipboard later. We get a name, we get the recipient's full address, otherwise we get the email address. Recipient full address, otherwise we get the recipient email address. Very simple. Otherwise, we need to deal with the news group. Actually, why don't we... We're gonna deal with this later. The problem here right now that I'm thinking of is that in the old header, we created a bunch of different custom elements. If we check the mail widgets, we have the, see, we have a bunch of multiple custom elements. We have the header field tag, the header field news groups, the news group field, the message ID field, the multi-message field, headers field. Like it's a lot of repetition of custom elements for the same thing, the same exact thing, which is a row, a div with a bunch of addresses. It doesn't matter if this is an address, a recipient, or a news group, or a header field, or a message ID. Like for example, if I show you, if you access in the view headers, and let's print all the headers. These are all the headers that come in your email address, and we don't show it by default, but users that they're very high on security and they want to check everything, they want to check the all the information because for whatever reason they're able. All these fields, like this message ID, this is a custom element. Why? This is just the same div, we're just printing a string. We should have two custom elements, one that handles addresses and one that handles strings. That's it. Why we have million different custom elements for million different object types? It doesn't make sense. Or data types. It makes things overly complicated for no real reason. And then we have to have all those different conditions, like, oh, if this is this, check this other. So it doesn't make sense at all. This is gonna take me a long time to fix this. Oh god. Terrible. Oh, let me check if it works. So copy email address is I didn't change the method. Sorry. I forgot to change the method. So copy address, it's here. Mail address, copy email address. So it's the message header, copy address is correct. This is what I wrote. Yeah, copy address. We got the element. We want to pass the element and we're going to leave this to false. And then for the other one, we have copy address. And then we need to set this to true because we want that to happen. Okay, so let's compile it. Always compile it if you change the XHTML. Otherwise, it's gonna be a problem. And then we launch this and we trigger it. Email address, boom. Copy email address. Can I paste it here? Control B. Yay! If I do copy name and email address, paste it here. Yay! It works. Okay. Super straightforward. Last thing is discover open PGP key and create filter from and discover open PGP key. Okay, I can do that. It's fine. All right. I think I'm gonna stop for today. Oh god, this is more challenging than I thought. This is terrible just because of the way our code works. But hey, lovely time. Anyway, let me switch back to this lovely view. Okay, so I know this wasn't the most exciting thing ever, but I'm gonna start doing this more often at different times of the day just to have fun and show you all the progress in the Thunderbird development environment, what we're releasing up until 102. 102 is gonna happen in a couple of months. David, yes, what a mess. This is probably 10-15 years old code that I'm updating and rebuilding. As soon as everything is done, I'm gonna delete probably 3,000 lines of code that are old, that are not used anymore. So it takes a lot. It's challenging, frustrating, and rewarding at the end anyway. So hopefully for next week or in a couple of days when I do another live streaming, the message header will be completed and we're gonna be in a way better situation. So yeah, as usual, if you want, please leave a like to this video, subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss anything else, share this video with others. If they say, hey, but is Thunderbird still alive? Yes, it is. It's alive and kicking, and it's gonna be awesome in the next version. So thank you so much for watching, and I talk to you in the next one. And until the next one, as usual, happy coding. Bye bye.